Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to actually reset your lobby so that when you join a game, you'll be able to rejoin a game. I've gotten a lot of requests about this recently, and after having gone through it, I can understand why there's quite a bit of confusion there. It's a little bit involved, so hopefully this video will help you. So I'm going to be using the future UI, but the concept is going to be identical with any of the pre-built UIs that you use. And if you're building this with your own UIs, the concept will be the same as there. There's some core things that you need to do. So in this scene, you'll notice I have a really badly placed back to lobby button. Obviously, design this how you want. I just created a simple canvas with a button here. First off, let's just see how it works before I explain it. So let's go ahead and click play. And we'll go ahead and create this lobby. And join up. Okay, so here I am in the lobby, and to give you a little bit of view into what I'm doing here, in my build settings, I have a transition scene. This is basically just my root scene when the game first loads. It just has my network manager in it. But I'm going to go ahead and click back to lobby, and this will send me back to my transition scene and reset my UI. So click back to lobby. You'll see it says disconnected. You can ignore these, and this is because I have this main camera here, so let's disable that. And continue, and my lobby is successfully reset. So just to show you, let's go back into host a match and create another session. I need to actually fix that button here, so let's but anyway, you get the idea. So I rejoin, start match, and I'm able to join back in, and I can obviously do that as many times as I want, and it will work every time. So how do I do that? So let's come into here and let's have a look at the future UI. So this is where most of your actions are going to be. In fact, before we do that, let's back up just a little bit. So if I look at my build settings, I have my transition scene at scene 0. I would highly suggest that you do this. And at scene 0, you don't need a main camera. You don't need a directional light. In fact, you don't need anything except a camera and the network manager with these persistent objects. Now, one thing that can happen here is when you're first adding this scene, there's no event system. So let's go ahead and click play and see what happens there. And when I click play, I'm clicking here and I cannot interact with anything. Nothing is working on the UI, and that's because UI elements in Unity need an event system. That event system helps to detect input. So now when I go back in there, my UI will work. So obviously we'll need some way to be able to go back to that scene, and so that's what this back to lobby button here is. And the back to lobby button is a simple button that calls the UICoreLogic to disconnect from Photon altogether. I find that this is the easiest approach. You can obviously come in here and you can change that to, say, leave room. So if I come in here, network manager, I can say leave room if I want. Oh, I did on the wrong thing. Anyway, you could say the network manager leave room instead of UICoreLogic disconnect. I just say disconnect because that completely brings me back to when I first logged into the game, and I can redo everything that way. So the second thing that you want to do is you want to call UICoreLogic's ResetEverything function. So let's find the ResetEverything. So reset everything, that clears internal lists, it clears saved names, it clears saved room lists. It clears all that for you, so it brings you back to the original state. But that's not everything that you need to do as well. So let's go ahead and look at the UICoreLogic, and you're going to want to click on Miscellaneous. And under Miscellaneous, there is a Reset Everything Unity event, and this Unity event will be blank for you. There's not going to be anything in here. So I've went ahead and I've populated everything that you will need in order to reset this. So if you want to screenshot this, go ahead. I'll go ahead and explain a lot of this. So you'll see there's a lot of UI elements that I'm referencing here, and here is why the unready button was constantly being reset. So I actually wanted the ready up button to be the original thing that is enabled, and have the unready button disabled. So I am basically coming into here. I'm disabling the loading screen. I'm disabling the reconnecting screen. We always leave off on the lobby page, so I am disabling the lobby page. If I don't reset the music essentially is just looping, and it will just play from where it last left off. It can be a little bit jarring if I just come back in without that. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Okay. So I deleted that. That is the new function that I added. I was trying to reference. So I have to add an additional logic here to be able to send my player back to the index scene. So here on my canvas object that I have my button, you'll see I have something called generic scene. So this is a new function that I've added. I'll go ahead and add this in my next update for you. But essentially, it's pretty simple. I just have two functions that do the same thing. I can either load a scene by its name, or I can load a scene by its index. And I'm going to go ahead and select to load the scene by the index, just because I know that my root scene is always at scene index 0. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to load the seed index by scene 0. And this is not an async operation. You can come in here and you can make this .load scene async, and you can make this an asynchronous operation if you so choose. But the scene loads so fast, it's almost not worth it. So if you're planning on showing something like a loading bar, for example, it's almost instantaneous, as you saw by the example there. So I find that it's almost worthless to make it an async. But anyway, you'll need to do that to be able to send back to scene 0. By doing that, under the hood, Unity will actually destroy your character and reset your scene back to that. If you're planning on not changing scenes at all, just make note of that you will need to destroy your character when you disconnect from Photon. Most of the time, Photon will destroy that for you, but if there's like certain things in the scene that you need to reset, be sure to reset those as well. And then another important fact here is EnablePlayerAutoSpawn is false. So under the hood, if we come into here in spawning settings, so by default, EnablePlayerAutoSpawn is defaulting to not spawn my player. And if we read this, it says if you want to immediately spawn your player into the scene when joining a lobby. And the future UI doesn't work like that, so I definitely don't want that to be true, because my transition scene doesn't have any spawn points in it, so it will throw an error, causing my loading scene to essentially never load. It will break the game for me. So in fact, let's do that. So if I click Enable Player Autospawn, you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and run through that again. Okay, so it works the first time because EnablePlayerAutoSpawn was false by default, but now when I click back to lobby, it's going to call my ResetEverything, which is going to enable my player autospawn because I've told it to do so. Let's go ahead and click back to lobby. Okay, and things are going to work fine. You can even join the lobby fine. But you see now it throws this error because it just tried to spawn my character, which will break internal logic to the network manager because there's no spawn point in this scene. So let's click ready up and start match, and you'll see it never ever loads. That's because essentially this error right here, you broke internal logic. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to go ahead and disable that again. And you'll notice that in that time my ready up button worked correctly. And so this is basically what you would need to do. You need to have some sort of button that will disconnect you from your current session and call reset everything from the UICoreLogic. Inside reset everything, you need to set up your UI here according to what you would like it to be after it's been reset. Make sure that you are resetting your auto spawn to be false, and that if you do want to transition back to a scene, you call your transition back to a scene. So hopefully that helps everyone that's trying to reset your lobbies. It's the same concept for the modern UI. It's the same concept for the future UI and the dark fantasy UI. They're all going to be exactly the same. So like I said, go ahead and take a screenshot of this, and this is exactly what you would need. Thanks. Bye.